Good afternoon once again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a very wet qualifying for the 7th round of TNR here in Canada. And oh dear. We have set a banker at this point, but obviously this second lap on that set of inters lost. Thankfully, not the front right with it. Later in the session we come out for another run. This is quite the exciting qualifying session. The only wet one that occurred at Canada in this set of league racing events across all the leagues. We had a very much improving track throughout the session, and everyone of course getting used to the conditions as we went along. We've dropped down to P8 at this point, but we're purple through the first sector. We know our rivals are all in front of us at this point, so it's really time to move up the grid. We cannot afford to start this low, especially given that Whimpernator does have the lead in the championship currently. It's standing about 5.5 points, I believe. So we will be looking to beat the Mercedes driver at the very least. It's purple in the second sector as well. So this lap looking decidedly better than my previous attempts. As we slide down towards the 5th row of the grid.
You're down to P9.
The delta suggests we're going to improve by quite a margin. Possibly a second if we can nail this final chicane. We'll see through here. Just keen to avoid any corner cuts. We've gained a lot of time through there. Goodness me. Must have had a shocker through there on my first lap. And there it is, a 21.3. Surprisingly, that lap would be good enough for pole, but I continued. Cutting forward, we go really deep at the hairpin. Costs us quite a few tenths, but the exit we got was phenomenal. So that really was where the time was gained. We're only a little bit ahead of our delta, but the margins are so fine. It was obviously worth taking the improvement, no matter how small it is. We've seen pole position.
This light rain is going to be with us for a while now.
Even splits between P1 and P4 be less than a tenth. So across the line we come, another 21.3, in fact a 21.3 exactly. And that would be pole position. Both laps were good enough. Although, again, Maznat only a tenth behind, so any slip up on either one of those laps, and it might have been a different story. The lights are out, and off we go. It's Harry Ryan starting P3, Maznat and I opting for the ultra soft. A couple of guys behind us on the super soft, notably Harry Ryan and Stylen, I believe. Not sure who went for what behind that.
Well done, mate. Nice start.
But we're going to have to try and get away, Maznat and I, at least. Fastest lap as we try and get away, although this is possibly the worst sector of racing you'll ever see from me. That's a corner cut there on lap 2, turn 1. Not sure what turn this is, I think it's 4, but that's another one. And then
Awarded a time penalty. We'll go against our finishing time at the end of the race.
that was my last warning of the race on lap 2. I was not having any more of that crap. That's a brain invade or something. Either way, I started taking the chicane a lot more gingerly, trying to avoid those warnings, and that gave Maznat the opportunity, a good run out of the last turn, and he took the lead. I was content at this point to let him work with me, so to speak, so we could try and get away and not lose too much time to the guys behind. Wasn't quite the case though, because my rears were going off badly. There was a yellow flag here, but as you can see, as hold up man is the driver who's out. Maznat has extended his gap well out of DRS in front of me, and I've got Stylen to worry about, as my rears horribly going off. Stylen has a bit of a moment there. Not sure if he received any damage, but if he did, didn't cost him much time because he charged right up to the back of us. And as we found out by the end of the week of league racing in Canada, the wheel was way more suited to this track because the rear tyres just went off horribly on the controller compared to the wheel users. And you can see the rear starting to just slip away from me in many of these low speed corners. Stylen putting a lot of pressure on me, and with this DRS here, he looked certain to get me at least by the end of the next DRS straight, and I think it was my time to pit anyway. I went up to the soft compound tyre as soon as I could really, because the ultras were just horrific. I was losing so much time to Maznat, it wasn't funny.
Go, go, go. Last stop. No more scheduled pit stops.
Anyway, we came out, thankfully just in front of HSV. I timed that quite well. I was in communication with him, I knew where he was on the track. And it was an 8-second gap to the car in front, Harry Ryan at the time. You got Wimp in the pits, that's important. He was running in the top 5, so that's my rival. I'm going to be careful about making sure we finish in front of him. Further cars in the pits there, Styron putting on the soft compound tyre. It looks like Harry Ryan's going to continue, and Maznat has arrived back on the track in front of him. So my challenge for the win probably over, but Maznat quite a few points down, so I wasn't too disappointed with that. I just wanted to beat Wimp. And now Harry Ryan appears to have gone quite far into the race. He actually lets us through. Perhaps not the best strategy by him, not sure. I think he'll plan to go to the Ultras at some point. And nothing really happened for the next 20-25 minutes, and I just followed Maznat home. The gap yo-yoed between Maznat and I, and Wimp and I. Penalties offset each other, and no one actually moved around post-penalties. Victory for Maznat, his first in TNR, congratulations to him. Penalties for both Wimp and I means that Wimp retains the championship lead, but it's just down to 2.5 points now. So exciting stuff there heading into Baku. I've been Jacko, see you then.